Marvel's Spider-Man is without a doubt one of the biggest game releases of the year, and it's up there with the most anticipated PS4 exclusives ever released. Dare I say, the most anticipated, even ahead of God of War, and we are just a few days away from the release, and in this video, I want to take a look at 20 huge things that you need to know about Spider-Man before you buy. Let's cut the chatter and get right into this with number 1. First up, let's start with the story, as Spider-Man is an IP with so many layers to it, so you might be wondering, is this a story based on an existing storyline or an original story? Well, it is in fact the latter. The game will tell a new story about Spider-Man and is not tied to a film, comic book, or past video game. It will cover both the Peter Parker and Spider-Man aspects of the character and will feature an older and more experienced Peter who has been Spider-Man for 8 years now. Number 2, continuing off of this story, Peter Parker is 23 years old and interning at a laboratory while about to graduate from college. Peter has been Spider-Man for 8 years and has settled into his role as a protector of New York City. Early on in the story, Spider-Man defeats Wilson Fisk. Afterwards, a new gang run by Mr. Negative emerges, known as the Inner Demons, who are now taking over Fisk's territory.
I'm the one who kept order in this city!
What is this? Devil's breath.
Your city and everything you care about will be destroyed. The people will beg you for help, but you won't be able to save them.
Number 3, Marvel Spider-Man will feature a variety of different characters, and at the end of the Spider-Man E3 2017 gameplay demo specifically, there is a glimpse of Miles Morales, a character who took up the mantle of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. Number 4, the Spider-Man from the game will be featured in the comic storyline Spider-Geddon. This storyline is written by Christos Gage, who also wrote the video game, who noted Spider-Geddon takes place after the events of the game. The first issue in this storyline, Spider-Geddon number 0, will be released on September 26th of this year. Number 5, of course, the enemies and villains from Spider-Man will be of a wide array, and exact villains we know of include Mr. Negative, Kingpin, Shocker, Electro, Rhino, Scorpion, Vulture, and there's obviously gonna be a ton more on top of that.
He said not to kill him.
Good idea. In fact, we don't have to do this at all if you don't want to.
We definitely want to. Ah!
Number 6, Spider-Man will be the first licensed game developed by Insomniac Games after 22 years of creating their own intellectual properties. Those IPs include Spyro, Ratchet & Clank, and Resistance. It was confirmed that Marvel Spider-Man is using Sunset Overdrive, another Insomniac Games modified game engine. And this game features the largest production team ever for an Insomniac game. Insomniac is one of the most talented studios in the world today, and while not all of their games have been absolute home runs, they've done some great titles across a wide variety of different genres. Spider-Man is their next major title. Number 7, I just mentioned all of Insomniac's games that they've done, Spyro, Ratchet & Clank, and Resistance. None of those games are open world titles, but their recent game release in Sunset Overdrive, that was their first real foray into a big open world game. However, Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4, that game's open world is 4 to 6 times the size of Sunset Overdrive. That was specifically stated, and the entire world of Spider-Man will be open to explore from the get-go, so that is fantastic. It looks to be that this will be a massive game. I know a lot of you guys haven't played Sunset Overdrive, but that game, while it wasn't a massive open world, it was a pretty sizable experience. So to say that it's 4 to 6 times the size of that, that means this game will be pretty freaking huge.
Working on a Spider-Man game, let alone being video games, is just absolutely surreal. I use that word a lot when I describe working on this game, and to work with a group like Sony and work with Marvel, and that feeling is felt by so many Insomniacs, so we couldn't be prouder, and the support we've gotten across the board, not only from Sony, Marvel, but also the fans, has been spectacular.
Nice work,
Brian, it just looks incredible. I mean, there's no other word for it, and
you're flabbergasted.
Number 8, in my opinion, one of the coolest elements of the new Spider-Man game is the natural and alive open world. We see so many open world games these days, and some of them kind of lack that essence of actually being a world. That isn't the case with Spider-Man's open world. The citizens in the game will interact with Spider-Man on the subway train, the civilians sleep on Spider-Man's shoulders, people wave to him outside, ask for pictures, ask for photos, high five, etc. The little details make everything more natural and add vibrance to the game's living world. Number 9, speaking of the open world, you'll be able to traverse it rather quickly. Whether you're web slinging or even quicker, you can fast travel in the game through the NYC subway. Number 10, speaking of web swinging, Insomniac Games has confirmed that web swinging is physics-based. Here's specifically what they said, quote, "There is always a web anchor point. It's completely momentum and physics-based. We focused a lot on traversal, wall running, leaping off things, and swinging." Of course, that is going to be one of the biggest elements of any Spider-Man game, but it looks like there's been a lot of focus put towards the web swinging as a gameplay element in this title. Number 11, in Marvel Spider-Man, there will be some role-playing and progression mechanics, and you will gain experience points from winning fights, successful completion of missions, and many other things. There will also be many side missions that are great for earning experience, such as clearing out gang hideouts and more. The XP gain can then be used to unlock new abilities in the upgrade trees. Some of these include combat, agility, and web slinging. Number 12, gameplay and combat won't just entail web slinging and hand-to-hand combat, you'll also have various gadgets, including web trip mines, spider drones, and a web bomb.
Experimental gadgets like trip mines, spider drones, and something called a web bomb. Where does he even get the stuff?
Maybe he makes them himself.
Ha! Spider-Man, the genius scientist. That'll be the day.
Number 13, the Spider-Man suit that Peter Parker is wearing is a completely original design. Many have questioned what the enormous white spider logo stretching across his torso represents, since it is so different from the norm and what you typically see on Spider-Man. This isn't just done to be cool design. Insomniac Games has confirmed that there is in fact a meaning behind this decision, but we'll have to play the game to find out what that meaning is. Number 14, outside of that main suit that you see, there are a wide variety of different suits to change the look of Spider-Man, from the classic suit, advanced suit, Spider-Punk, Iron Spider, Velocity suit, Spider-Man Noir suit, Steve Ditko inspired suit, Secret War suit, Scarlet Spider suit, Spider Armor Mark II, Spider-Man 2099, and many more.
Been there, worn that. Yes! Now that's a suit! Yeah, definitely a keeper.
Number 15, on top of the various suits, there will be other collectibles. Specifically throughout the world, various backpacks will be webbed up, and these give backstory on this version of Spider-Man. Number 16, so we've talked about Spider-Man quite a bit, and of course you'll be playing as Peter Parker, but that isn't the only playable character. Mary Jane Watson is also playable in key moments of the game, but that's all we know about her playability in the game. We don't know the exact length that we'll be playing as Mary Jane Watson, we just know that she will be an integral part of the game. Number 17, as far as the length of the game, that's gonna vary from player to player depending on how much you take your time, decide to tackle side quests, and what difficulty you play on. However, to give you an idea, Insomniac's community director James Stevenson has said that the average playtester finished the game on normal difficulty in around 20 hours. That's the main story, so again, if you take your time with optional content, it'll take you considerably more time.
There was a store robbery, a shootout, and a runaway vehicle, all in the same day. And what do you think they all had in common? That menace in tights, Spider-Man.
Hey, fellas. Well, did you think that maybe he was trying to help? It feels like there's more and more crime every day.
I'll say, and it's all because Spider-Man thinks he's some kind of...
Number 18, if you want an even more fleshed out story, there's an official prequel book titled Spider-Man: A Hostile Takeover by David List that was released on August 21st. That prequel book is already out, so if you want a taste of the world that Marvel Spider-Man is going to offer, make sure you give that a look. Number 19, we just talked about the length of the main game and it being 20 hours. Of course, there will be side content, but however, there will also be post-game content. The DLC is known as Marvel Spider-Man: The City That Never Sleeps, and the first chapter will be released on October 23rd, and that's known as Marvel Spider-Man: The Heist. As you play the base game, you'll realize that Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat, is back in town, and she's leaving clues around town to toy with Spider-Man. In Marvel Spider-Man: The Heist, she finally reveals herself, featuring new missions and challenges, as well as a brand new faction of enemies and 3 additional suits to unlock you won't want to miss. That is only the first of 3 upcoming pieces of DLC. On October 23rd, again, we'll get Marvel Spider-Man: The Heist. November 2018 will bring Marvel Spider-Man: Turf Wars, and lastly, December 2018 will bring Marvel Spider-Man: Silver Lining. On the PlayStation Store, you can buy a bundle with all 3 of these DLC for $24.99. Alternatively, you can buy them separately, $9.99 a piece. And lastly, number 20, Marvel Spider-Man will be dropping on September 7th exclusively for the PlayStation 4, and of course, it will be enhanced on the PlayStation 4 Pro. On top of that, on September 7th, as a Day 1 update, the game will be introducing a photo mode, so that's something additional you'll be getting as a part of the Day 1 download. And that concludes this video, 20 huge facts that you need to know about Marvel Spider-Man before you buy. There's also one other piece of information that I want to throw in there that's not going to apply to everyone. If you do end up getting Marvel Spider-Man, the Collector's Edition, the statue that's included with that edition is actually a major spoiler towards the game. They'll actually label it and tell you while you're playing the game when you can open that up, so make sure you keep that closed unless you want to be spoiled a major plot point in the game. Again, that's only for those of you that got the Collector's Edition, and the Collector's Edition sold out very quickly, so that's probably very few of you, but something else that I wanted to mention but outside of the main 20. That's gonna conclude this video. Let us know your thoughts. Are you gonna be picking up Marvel Spider-Man on September 7th? Are you gonna wait for a sale for whatever reason? Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.